Welcome to the SRC Community Safety and Security Live Forum, brought to you by Serenity Resource Connector in partnership with JCF Area 3 through the kind sponsorship of National Self-Serve Wholesale in Maypen, Clarendon. I'm Winsome Sharia Whittle, your moderator for this evening, and we are going to be focusing on a topic that affects every Jamaican, be Jamaicans living here on the rock or those in the diaspora. Road safety is everybody's concern, and we are going to be speaking with the authorities on the matter coming out of the various entities, the National Road Safety Council, Island Traffic Authority, and the traffic headquarters, of course, Public Safety and Traffic Enforcement Branch, known in the JCF circle and other circles as PSTEB. So we're going to be hearing from them. We apologize for the absence of the Transport Authority, but I'm sure that you will get more than enough information from our discussion here as we get into it. So our goal tonight is to share practical insights that can save lives. That's what it's about. So from education to enforcement to vehicle safety, that's what we're going to be talking about here. And we are going to get right into the discussion, the conversation. Let me put on our label here as we acknowledge our sponsor and recognize the gentleman in the space joining us, Senior Superintendent Winchester Watson from PSTEB. And we're going to lead out this first segment also with Victor Anderson from the NRSC. And Victor Anderson is the program coordinator there at NRSC. Welcome, gentlemen. All right, all right, you have to unmute from your end.
Sorry, yes.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your welcome.
Pleasure. And for those who are tuning in, feel free to be a part of the conversation. The comments open so you can share where you're joining us from. And if you have questions, place them there. If you have commendations, we take those as well. We love virtual flowers here in the Serenity Resource Connector space. So let's get started. Laying the foundation, looking at the state of road safety in Jamaica. SSP Watson, what are the most pressing national road safety trends and what's really driving those? What are the main concerns?
Good evening to you, moderator, and the public at large. I must tell you, fatal collisions are one of the most pressing trends as we speak. Persons are always concerned about the loss of a life at any given time. And we have been trying our best to keep the fatal collisions to the minimum. And you know that it takes some serious work to get where we are now. We are experiencing some 18% reduction in fatal collisions. And we are not satisfied with what is happening. However, we continue to press along, and by doing so, we continue to educate the public, especially the vulnerable groups that include young children, older persons, and the most vulnerable motorcyclists. And what we realize is that for this year, pedestrians have been victims in most of the situations. We realize that pedestrians tend to be up in the game. So we are trying our best to look at the different reasons why our pedestrians are being killed on the roadway. So what we observe is that there are a lot of instances where engineering problems exist. There are a lot of gaps where we have engineering issues, from the sidewalk to lack of having proper side crossings, side rails for them to remain on the sidewalk, areas that are very poorly lighted, roads that doesn't have any markings. So persons tend to venture in the roadway and got it. So we continue to work, we continue to conduct our lectures, and we have been doing very successful in that area. We go along our way as well. We continue to enforce by conducting speed checks on our major roadways. We have expanded our highways patrols right around Jamaica now. All geographic divisions are benefiting from the highway component, and as a result, we have been reaping success. So we continue to press on and see what will happen come the second quarter of this year. But for now, we are doing very well in comparison to last year. At this time, we are 19 less in era 3 in comparison to last year. And all last year at this time, the entire country had 126 deaths. As we speak, it is 19 now, 8 less. And last week coming up, we have a multiple set of collisions that resulted in 2 and 3 persons dying in each of those collisions. But we continue to press along, and we are seeing some success.
It's always great to hear that there are reductions. And so we continue the education so that we can see even further reductions as we move forward. So let's bring in Sir Anderson into the discussion. Lay the foundation, the groundwork for us, Sir Anderson. What exactly is the role of the National Road Safety Council?
Okay, the National Road Safety Council, or NRSC for short, is the lead agency for road safety in Jamaica. The council is chaired by the Prime Minister, whoever is the sitting Prime Minister, and the council coordinates the efforts of the public and private sector entities' efforts, all the entities that are working in the area of road safety. Unfortunately, I think we sometimes give the Prime Minister a bad name because we are not showing the kind of success we would love to see. And so perhaps the Prime Minister takes the blame for it. I'm sorry about that, but that's the reality. But to respond to the question about the number of fatalities, as you were hearing a while ago, Jamaica, since 2023, has been on a downward trend. It's only 2 years, but we are on a downward trend in terms of fatalities. We had hit a low of 260 in 2012, but since that time, fatalities have been steadily increasing again, hitting a high of 488 for all of Jamaica in 2022. But since 2023 was 425, 2024 was 364, and as you heard a while ago, we are now at 100 for the whole island, in 100 and, what is it? It's 102 with 100 days gone in the year. So we're making some progress, especially in recent times. And I think a lot of this, we have to thank the New Road Traffic Act and more effective enforcement by the police using their electronic ticketing devices. And I think that has really made a big difference, and we are seeing it in the numbers.
Okay, it's always great to hear, as I said before, the reductions, and that's what coming out of any reductions coming out of JCF is always welcome news to us. All right, Carrie Ann Case, we have a comment here. Let's bring in Carrie Ann Case is saying, continue to educate the public. Knowledge is power. Keep up the good work. Appreciate the increase in road traffic signs I've seen. Also pay attention to the role the road conditions play in. All right. Finish your thought, Carrie-Ann. Okay, so thank you for that, virtual flowers. So you keep up the great work that you're doing. All right, so what's one misconception or one thing the public often misunderstands about road safety? SSP and then Sir Anderson.
So one of the things that persons don't realize is that in using our roadways, one used to drive based on the condition of the road. And what they tend to do is they will have this smooth, nice paved road traveling on. And when they reach onto a lesser quality road, they continue the same speed. And what they expect is the same result, which does not exist. What really happens at times, they realize the police may be out there conducting vehicular checkpoints, and they will think that no, you are to target the criminals. No, we are saying that we don't want anyone to be killed on our roads. So we want us to reduce the speed. We are not entrapping anyone. What we want us to do, drive within the speed limit. Just in case there is a collision, you have a chance to live. We encourage persons and we implore on persons to wear the safety belts, which is very important. We encourage persons to wear the protective helmets, which is very important. And we have seen where we have had interventions in the western part of Jamaica, and we have seen results. Westmoreland, for one parish, a couple of years back, they used to be the leading parish with fatalities. And what we are seeing now, they are getting some good reduction. As we speak, for this year, Westmoreland has gone 9 deaths. In comparison to last year, there were 13. So we have seen some real good reductions in road fatality. And it's obvious that what we are trying to sell to them, they are buying into it. We have gone there numerous occasions, and we carry out some interventions where persons were taken through the basic rules of maneuvering the motorcycle. They were distributed with safety helmets, and we see where we had some successes in that. So it's a partnership. We, the police, alongside the National Road Safety, we don't want to see any death on the road. So what we want us to do is work in collaboration with each other to reduce what is happening, carnage on the roadway.
Indeed. Sir Anderson, anything to add to that in terms of misunderstanding about road safety?
Well, perhaps what I'm going to say will make it clear that there are some misunderstandings. One of the things we have persuaded the government to adopt is what we call the safe systems approach to road safety. And I thought SSP was going to speak about that a while ago, because in the safe systems approach, it is premised on the fact that human beings are going to make mistakes. But we must design a system on encompassing the roads, the vehicles, the road users, and the emergency response, so that if a person makes a mistake, which they will, and they crash, they don't have to die. So I think that's a key thing. So we talk about safe roads, but a road that can be safe at 50 kilometers per hour is no longer safe, perhaps, if you're doing 120 kilometers per hour. So it is up to the road user to maintain safe speeds. So the road user must be a safe road user. And of course, they must keep their vehicles safe. We're going to get to that with the ITA. So it's essential that each of us who is part of the system, whether it's the road builders or the drivers or the other persons who use the roads, the motorcycle drivers, the pedestrians, the bicyclists, make sure that we're driving safe vehicles and driving in a safe manner, because each side of the puzzle has to take responsibility. So the road user has to take responsibility for themselves and for others on the roads.
All right, and I believe this is in line with what Kerry-Ann and Colleen sharing here in terms of teamwork. So there, the comments about potholes and the incidents that happen because of the potholes, swerving from the potholes, and so the condition of the road. So it's a teamwork. So if the roads are in better conditions, there might be less likelihood of those incidents happening. Flowers
May I
going
comment on that?
Sure, one moment. I see your presence out there. All right, and it's appreciation for the road markings, especially at roundabouts, etc. All right, go right ahead, Sir Anderson.
No, I was going to comment that for sure the road markings are a challenge, and we need better road markings. But it's interesting that you spoke that the viewer commented on the potholes. I'm sure SSP will back me up that when a road is very potholed, we don't have a lot of crashes on that road now because people drive more slowly. And as soon as they get onto the beautiful surface, I think it is time to let loose and get into trouble. So I'm being a little naughty, but I think it is true. I think it is true.
You don't want to damage the nice rims, so you'll go slower when you get to those sections.
Yeah,
right.
And you also protect your life.
Oh, Lord. All right. So we're here in this space as part of the awareness that the different entities are doing. But how are the awareness campaigns influencing road behavior? I know Traffic Thursday, for those who are live, indicate in the comments if you're aware of Traffic Thursdays, the JCF Traffic Thursdays, and you can go ahead and share SSP Watson as it relates to awareness campaigns and how they have been influencing road behavior.
Well, yes, we have seen some real significant results, what is coming out of it. And I mean, we continue to sell the product as to one trying to leave home and you get back home safely. And what we have been doing, I must tell you that the whole execution of warrants, we have been getting some real success from executing those warrants, and persons who would usually get the tickets and refuse to pay them, they are coming on board now. We are getting them, cause them to go to the court and pay them. And you'll see a reduction in the type of behavior because they realize now the system is being tied up where there is no way to escape from paying those tickets. So we have seen a change in behavior. And most of these tickets would normally generate from persons who drive for profit. And I mean, we continue to communicate with them, educate them, let them know that, listen, if your driver's license would keep you going as a professional chauffeur, then you mean to protect it. So those persons who drive the public passenger vehicles and the commercial vehicles, we tend to have closer discussions with them because they are the persons who I tend to see more often in court. So we have seen some changes in behavior, and as a result, we are getting result with less offenses being committed in some areas. And as I said to you, it resulted in a reduction with the fatality on the road.
Fantastic. All right, Colleen wasn't aware of Traffic Thursdays. So now you know, Colleen. I'm not sure if it's shared in any other space, but I know on Instagram, Traffic Thursdays, where you have sometimes even I think the senior officer goes out there sometimes and do different small clippings to share in terms of what's happening out there on the road, some of the things that you can do to keep yourself safe out there. So you can check that out. Once you go to Google and look for Traffic Thursdays, you should be able to see some of what's been shared. All right. Any awareness campaign from NRSC?
The NRSC hasn't had a lot of funds to do awareness campaigns in recent years. We hope that's going to change shortly. I know that at the end of the last financial year, the government put aside some funds from the traffic ticketing revenue for a public education campaign, which the Ministry of Transport started a few months ago. And hopefully that will continue and grow stronger. Because we understand that more funding is available in this financial year from the same source, traffic ticketing revenue. But in terms of awareness, I think there is something important that Jamaica needs to know. We are now about halfway through the second decade of road safety action proclaimed by the United Nations. And Prime Minister Holness was the keynote speaker at the launch of the second decade in 2021. And the second decade commits Jamaica and the world to a 50% reduction in fatalities from the number that it was in 2020. For what it is worth, the number in 2020 was 434. So we need to get down to 217, no worse than 217 come 2030. So we have a lot of work to do, and we want to engage the Jamaican public in taking on this target and making it a reality by committing to safer speeds on the roads and being safer road users, each of us, whether we are pedestrians, motorcyclists, cyclists, drivers of other vehicles. One of the frightening things, pedestrians and motorcyclists are the two largest groups dying on the roads. And one of the frightening things regarding pedestrians is that you very often see them stepping out into the road wearing headphones or their eyes glued to a device in their hands. And so they're not very aware of what is happening around them. So they're distracted. And just as drivers need to be careful about being distracted drivers, pedestrians need to also be very careful about distractions while they're walking on the roads, because distractions may put you in a very unsafe situation.
Indeed, stay alert, can save a life. All right, there's a lot of interest as it relates to Traffic Thursdays. Our Noble Wind, thank you for joining us as usual. Thanks much just being aware of this. So Traffic Thursdays, Karian, it's currently looking at, you get a list of warrants. And I think this will be reaping much reward, as SSP was sharing about in terms of the tightening up. So the recent episode is on Instagram, but if you Google Traffic Thursdays, put in Jamaica, Traffic Thursdays Jamaica, you'll see them there if you don't have an Instagram account, right? But it would be good to follow the JCF pages so you can get credible information. So if there is a SOE or anything of curfew imposed, then you'll be able to get the information from that point. All right, as we prepare to round out this segment, we always want to get the community involved. This is Serenity Resource Connector, so we want to connect the different entities with the community. So how can families and schools play a greater role in early road safety education? SSP and then Sir Anderson again.
All right, so thank you. So we at PSTEB,
You're muted.
Sorry about that. So at PSTEB, there is an active road safety program, and we have been doing a lot of work around road safety lectures. And I can share with you that for the period since 1st of January up to the 9th of April, we have done 56 lectures lectures in 56 schools. Presentations were done for children up to age 18 or 17, thereabout. 9,714 children were involved. They benefited from these lectures. We engage adults in colleges, universities, and business centers. 648 adults benefited. So the overall participant engaged for this period is 10,418. And we have seen an increase in that for 872 for last year. So we have increase in what we're and what we realize that we are getting the results. We still have some work to do on the pedestrians, and we're not going to let up on them. So far this year, 22 pedestrians have lost their lives in comparison to 20 last year. So we have some work to do. And as we speak, they are the third most vulnerable groups behind motorcyclists and private motor vehicle drivers. So we will continue to engage our communities and students until we get where we feel comfortable. As Mr. Anderson said, that we need to get down to 200 and a small figure there. We want to get there before 2030. So we'll continue to drive that program, and we are reaping the success.
Indeed, and with all of us working together, I'm sure we will get there sooner rather than later. All right? Go ahead, Sir Anderson. Anything else to add to what we can do?
Well, perhaps if I may venture into what the Island Traffic Authority is doing. I know that they have a program of visiting schools as well. And they have been focusing on not only dealing with the younger children and teaching them how to use the roads safely, but they have also been engaging a number of teenagers in schools about road safety, and also specifically about the road code and doing the road code tests necessary for a learner's permit. They have actually have had officers of the ITA go into schools, talk to the students about the road code, and also come back and administer the road code tests. And a number of them have been getting their learners' permits as a result. And I know they also engage with communities. So if communities are interested in having the Island Traffic Authority come and speak to them, and I'm sure the police would not have an objection to that either, going out into communities to speak about road safety and to build awareness.
All right, great. A lot of public education going on. All right, Barbara Sharp is proposing that jaywalking, pedestrians who jaywalk should be ticketed, and Karen is agreeing with her. And I'm going to have to raise my hand to that one, because that's a waiting disaster right there, because the pedestrian, the way they use the roads, you would believe they're the ones licensed to be in the middle of the road and not the vehicles. So that's another area, another conversation. And just to respond to Tony Lewis is asking why NWA is not on the panel, and is there a road maintenance budget? All right, Sir Lewis, there is a specific segment for that. On second Thursdays, we have community safety and security with Area 3 Police, and we speak specifically to those concerns there. For that area, it's fourth Thursdays in our local governance and community development segment with the Clarendon Municipal Corporation. So I'll bring this to their attention to see how best we can address that in that particular forum. All right, so you want to tune in on fourth Thursday for our local governance and community development segment. All right, gentlemen, let's bring in Sir Grant, waiting patiently backstage. Sheldon Grant is the technical analyst to the Director General and the Senior Motor Vehicle Examiner at the Island Traffic Authority. Welcome to our safety space, Sir Grant.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight.
Right.
Ms. Whittle.
Awesome. Happy to have you. So just as NRSC outlined, help us to understand what exactly is the role of the Island Traffic Authority.
All right. All right, so I'm going to outline the functions of Island Traffic Authority, and we are here to enforce the provision of the Road Traffic Act and of regulations made thereunder. We're also here to regulate and control traffic on our roads, to inspect all motor vehicles from time to time, to test applicants' driver's license as their competence to drive and in case of, to grant certificate of fitness, to keep records of endorsements on driver's license, to keep records of all accidents on roads, to furnish annually to the minister a report of all accidents on the road, and to keep a driver's offense book. So those are our functions.
Okay. So I trust that when we leave here, whether you're here with us live or you're watching the replay, that you have a clear understanding as to the roles of these different entities, and you're not wondering why we have so many of them. The functions differ. So let's go right into the most frequent reasons vehicles fail inspections. Because every time I go there, I fail and I still have to do this and do that. What are the most frequent reasons?
All right, so as it comes to inspections for vehicles, Island Traffic Authority does multiple forms of inspection. We do fitness inspections, we do L-form inspections. Those are for PPV vehicles. We inspect vehicles that were deemed defective and their plates have been removed. So under the fitness section, things that we look out for on the vehicle, anything that would make the vehicle not roadworthy or a safety hazard. So lights, condition of your tires, if the vehicle is leaking any fluids, suspension, the vehicle tracks straight, the braking system, basically all of those. So the engine, battery belts, brake system, fluids, lights.
Okay, so those are the things owners should check regularly to avoid these fitness issues.
Yes. So upon inspection at the Island Traffic Authority for our fitness, how the procedure is done, we verify the documents, which would mean the fitness document and the receipt. The receipt can be purchased online at TAJ or at TAJ's office. The vehicle comes to the hub where it is inspected. We match the engine number and chassis number of the vehicle to the documents. After that is carried out, then an inspection is done of the undercarriage of the vehicle. So you'll see officers under the vehicle looking. We're not just randomly looking, we're looking at suspension components of the vehicle. We're looking at the exhaust system under the vehicle, and we're also observing if there are any leaks in the system. After that, the vehicle goes around for a test drive. Now, most persons, this would fall under one of the myths for Island Traffic Authority. When they see us out there driving the vehicle, everyone will say, oh Lord, geez, all them do a speed up and down. But in truth, the vehicle has to be accelerated up to speed in order for us to test the braking system effectively. Figure 8 is done on the test course to listen for sounds in the suspension and to see if the vehicle tracks straight when the steering is released. Once the vehicle is deemed fit and roadworthy and passed, a certificate of fitness is issued.
All right, Errol Williams is saying, no, sir. What is that? All right, so we are getting the facts here, which is why we're bringing the experts, so we can get the facts So you'd say then, if I hear something that doesn't sound like the norm on my vehicle, that's a red flag and I need to go get it checked out. That's the case?
All right, so when suspension components on a vehicle are worn, they usually make sounds. When suspension components usually have a rubber bushing, a rubber material. So when that rubber material is worn, now you have metal to metal being contacted. So you usually hear sounds when suspension components are worn. So it can be a control arm machine, a ball joint, a tie rodding, a racking, and the list goes on.
Oh, okay. All right. It seems some of the team members not doing their work because Williams is saying that no one looks under the vehicle.
Yeah. There's a
So,
ramp at the hubs that the vehicle drives up onto, and the officer goes under the vehicle to
okay,
make that inspection. Yeah,
right. But all of this is not done because you just want to give motorists some
a
headache,
hard time.
right, and for them
No,
to go pay some money, right? What are the risks and
no.
consequences of operating an unfit vehicle?
All right, so the risk of operating an unfit vehicle, first and foremost, is public safety. You don't only endanger the safety of yourself, but you endanger the safety of other persons using the roadway. And this includes motorists and pedestrians, motorcyclists. So we're not here to give you a hard time. And if we are able to identify these issues on the vehicle, it would give SSP a lot of less work to do, and Mr. Anderson a lot less work to do. So inspection of vehicles is paramount for road safety.
All right, thank you so much because you just showed how all three entities work together right there. But SSP, based on what you have been seeing in terms of the accidents and all of that, are there any other areas that you want to highlight in terms of consequences based on what you have been seeing, where accidents are as a result of unfit vehicles?
Well, from when once there is an accident and there is major damage or death, then the vehicle is required to be examined by a certifying officer. And from time to time, the officer will identify the defects. And even without a crash, we have done joint operation with the Island Traffic Authority from time to time, and we have identified defects, sometimes visible defects, worn tires, vehicles without wiper blades, vehicle without headlights, vehicle without indicators, and there are defects that is not visible. So like front end differentials and the braking system, the Island Traffic Authority, they at times they'll get in the vehicle, rock the steering, and they will identify the defects. So we continue to do that type of work to really prevent or to reduce instances where failures, the vehicle fails, because what we must understand, for a collision to take place, it's either by the human being himself making a mistake, the road condition, or the machine in which he is driving. So it's either man, road, or the machine. So it's one of three, or a contribution of maybe two. So we tend to do vigorous road operations to try and maintain a certain standard of vehicle on our roadways.
Thank you. Welcome, Ms. Peck. Thank you for joining us. I see our number 4 justices of the peace out of Clarendon are here with us. All right. So how can motorists better prepare for inspections, Sir Grant?
All right, so this is recommended if you're going to take your vehicle in for a certificate of fitness to be done. It is good to have your mechanic give the vehicle a once over. You have persons that come to the hub, they usually visit the mechanic before so that they can inspect the vehicle and rectify any defaults that they see on the vehicle before the vehicle comes in for inspection. So that when you come to the hub, it's just a seamless process for you. All right, so in the case of a vehicle not being found fit and there's a defect on the vehicle, let me explain how that goes. The defects are recorded on the receipt that the owner of the vehicle presented for the inspection, and it is returned to them. That person will now rectify what has been written on the receipt and return to the hub of their choice. It doesn't have to be the service hub that they went to for the initial inspection. They can go anywhere, it can go island wide. The vehicle is re-inspected for the defect that was written, and once it's found satisfactory, a certificate of fitness will be issued. And as SSP touched with the road spot checks, the joint operations that we do, we have things that are called major defects and minor defects. A major defect for a vehicle warrants that the plates be removed. It's basically saying that the vehicle is so unsafe that it shouldn't be on the road. And we have minor defects where we issue a warning notice. The major defects are some of the major defects that a plate can be removed for on the road, or tires being worn to break a strip. Now, this means that the wire or the cord of the tire is now visible. We also remove plates for vehicles that are emitting smoking excessively. We remove plates from vehicles that have colored lights. There are 3 lights that are on a vehicle. It's a white light, which is your driving light, your amber, which are usually your indicators, and your red light, which are your brake lights. Now, these lights also have a specific area on the vehicle. Not because red lights are allowed, it cannot be fitted to the front or side of a vehicle. It has to be to the rear at all times. So not because a light is allowed, it is allowed in a certain section of the vehicle. We also remove plates for vehicles that are leaking excessive oil. As you know, once the oil makes contact with the road surface, it becomes slippery and it can cause collisions. We remove plates also for obscured vision. Now, obscured vision has many angles to it. Persons also tint their windshield. By law, you're only allowed 6 inches down from the roof line. Anything in excess, the plate can and will be removed for it. Or if a person has a shattered windscreen in front of the driver, which obscures their vision, or if you have unnecessary stickers affixed to the glass to obscure your vision. So those are some of the things that we remove the plates for on the road. Once a plate is removed on the road, the plate goes into the possession of the JCF that is on the ground working with us. That customer is now required to purchase a defect fee at the tax office, have the defects rectified, and take it to the depot of their choice or service hub of their choice for reinspection. Once that vehicle is found satisfactory, the Island Traffic Authority issues a document which allows them to retrieve their plates from the JCF and to remove a block on the system from TAJ. So when the plates are removed from the vehicle is also blocked on the TAJ system, so no transaction can be done for the vehicle.
Wow. All right. Just in case some of that didn't stick, don't worry. We'll have a blog recap that outlines all of that, so you can go to the Serenity Resource Connector website. And if you have not yet subscribed, you can subscribe so you can receive your notification on Monday, God's willing, so you can get all this information. And we'll be sure to include the link to the different entities so you can get additional information as well. All right. As we round out this segment on vehicle fitness and roadworthiness, Sir Grant, you mentioned earlier about a myth where the officers just driving the vehicle all over the place. What other misconception you would like to clear up about the inspection process?
That is the major misconception that I'd like to clear up. So most persons see us as we're just randomly driving the vehicle out there. Them just jump in on my car and speed go up there, so 360, it fling it round, dust blow off it, hubcap fly off, and then come back down, come stop. I know it looks that way, but it's a procedure. And the test areas that we have, they are short. So we have to accelerate quickly to get the vehicle up to speed to brake. So when we brake the vehicle and we brake hard, we're checking for multitudes of things. When you brake, sometimes the vehicle doesn't track straight when you're braking, which would mean that the vehicle swerves to the left or swerves to the right when you apply the brake. We check for that. Vehicles are fitted with ABS system. Some vehicles, they are defective, and these are the only ways that we can find out, because you have persons out there that remove bulbs out of gauge clusters when their vehicles have an issue. A man will remove him check engine light or remove him ABS light out in gauge cluster. So we have to drive the vehicles to know. And then a figure eight is done to test the suspension and to see if the vehicle tracks and the steering wheel returns straight. Some vehicles, when you make a turn, you have to physically turn back the wheel to get it straight. And how manufacturers make the vehicle, once you release the steering wheel in a corner, it is supposed to go back into the straight position on its own. So that is the myth that I want to debunk. I know it looks random. I know it looks like we're just speeding, but you also have to remember that we have many customers to serve, and it's best to get everyone out in a timely manner. So that's the biggest myth I like to debunk.
So it's not about just driving the vehicle up and down, but everything
We're not out there enjoying ourselves.
is for a purpose, and it's all in the name of road safety and more so people safety, because the roads can only be safe if we as the drivers, those behind the steering, actually prepare for
All
that.
road users.
Indeed. All right. So let's zone in on another segment, law enforcement and road fatality prevention, with SSP Winchester Watson coming to us from PSTEB, that's our traffic headquarters at the JCF. Sir Watson, what traffic laws are most actively enforced and why? Because we have a whole long list of them, but what are the top two?
Well, I would say that regulating the speed is number one, and number two is for persons to observe and ensure that they indicate when they are overtaking, because our main cause of collision is failing to keep left or to the near side or to your proper lane, because at times you need to keep to your right in that lane that you're occupying. And what we realize is that person overtaking at times will overtake without indicating and cause other persons to brake harshly or to swerve. Now, if we can get persons to drive within the speed limit and keep to their left, what we'll have is less head-on collisions. And most of our fatal collisions are head-on collisions. And what Mr. Anderson spoke about is having those safe roads where they are divided by a median. So we have less head-on collisions on those roads. So if you take, for example, the highways, all the major highways that have been built now, they are dual carriageways. So what you'll have vehicle overturning or rear-end collisions, but you don't have that head-on collisions anymore. Now, what we want to also get on track with is the marking of our roads, because there are some roads in the rural, also in the corporate area, that need to be marked, because if the road is not marked, and especially if the road is dark, persons gonna tend to drive to the middle of the road, and then that's where you'll have a head-on collision. But when the road is marked and you can identify your left of the roadway, you will definitely keep to the left of the roadway. A third factor that we are looking at is the bushing and the maintenance of our roads. There are a number of roads as we speak that the bush is overgrowing in the road. Sometimes 3 feet of our roadways are taken up by bush grass, and as a result, they force motorists to keep to the middle of the road. Potholes is another factor where motorists are swerving from pothole instead of slowing down and maneuvering properly, you will serve from the patrol at times, lost control of the vehicle, killing pedestrians, or head on with another vehicle. So if we can get those factors right, we will see less and less collision resulting in fatalities on the road. If we can get those curb walls properly maintained, that pedestrians can remain on the sidewalk, or we have our crosswalks repainted so persons can identify where they are supposed to cross the road, we will have less issues on the road as it relates to collisions that results in deaths. But our main factor is keep within the speed limit. If you crash at 50 kilometers per hour, most of the time you will be saved if you are wearing a seatbelt in comparison to a man that is traveling over 100 kilos. So we want to implore on persons to stay within the speed limit and keep to your left.
All right. Keep to your left on the highways as well. Can PSTEB do something about that? Proper use of the
Yeah,
highway?
we have been prosecuting persons on the highway for failing to keep left and to allow the
Yeah.
faster moving vehicles or vehicles wanting to overtake in the right, because we have seen with the gaps and we have been prosecuting, we have been educating persons. There are signs, but I think we could benefit from more signs on our roadways that says keep to your left and allow the faster moving to go to the right. But it's an educational system where, I mean, a lot of drivers, I'm not gonna say the young drivers, you have old drivers just have that bad habit. They'll sit in the right lane, traveling, sometimes they're using their cell phone and all that. So we have to just continue to educate persons and also enforce.
Indeed, because that can be very disheartening when you're on the highway, you're paying to use the highway for a particular reason. And so, and the another thing too that needs to be reinforced is the importance of allowing way for emergency vehicles. I saw something happen at the toll booth and I could not understand it, how it is that we have people behaving so, I mean, I just don't know how to describe it. There was an ambulance waiting to go through the tag lane, and there was this huge trailer that was there. And instead of reversing to allow the ambulance to pass, the ambulance was there for minutes. And the siren was blaring, and didn't matter one bit to the driver. So these are some of the things that we really need to go much more harder on in terms of the education. All right. Thank you, Lady Booth. Thank you so much. It's a very informative session. Carrie Ann, reach out 876-871-8960. That's 876-871-8960. And we will get you involved. Okay. Thank you for offering your services. All right, let's see what Barbara is saying here. Too many cows are let loose on the May Pen to Osborne Store Main Road. Very dangerous for motorists. Is there anything that can be done from PSTEB, from headquarters?
Well, we report these incidents whenever we see them, and I mean, we realize that they need to be more fencing, and I mean, the owners of animals, they need to take the responsibility by keeping those animals, whether in a rope or in a fenced area. And we have seen, we have had a number of collisions on our highways. We have lost a number of lives. I mean, not only on the Maypend new toll, but even the rural parishes like Westmoreland. We have lost colleagues and motorcycles and all of that. So it's an effort, and the farmers need to take more responsibility in maintaining their animals in pens or in ropes. You understand?
All right, so a lot more work needs to be done there. Maybe we need to go check to see if there are specific markings on these animals that are out there and find the owners and enforce. Because we're talking about driving change through education, enforcement, and compliance. So we're educating, but we're expecting that enforcement will take place if we are not complying. All right, moving right along, what advice would you give motorists about police checkpoints, SSP?
All right. When you approach a police checkpoint, it's best for you to slow down. And if you are signaled to pull to your left or to your right, based on where you are, you would obey the police, listen carefully to the instructions given, and cooperate. If you have an issue, it's not to fight with the police, but to make observation, you may ask, but you can ask the police for his name, which he should give you his name. If he has a regulation number, you can take the regulation number, you can take the number of the motor vehicle that he's driving, and you can complain thereafter. But you must cooperate with the police. It's best to have your driver's license, your documents for your vehicles ready to show the police for inspection. If the police have suspicion and want to search the vehicle, you are to cooperate with the police. And if you cooperate with the police, I guess you should be out of there in a jiffy and continue along your way.
All right, and it's been said in this space time and time again, comply and then you complain. All right, so I trust that we have that clear. Comply, then you lodge your complaint. All right. How can community members work alongside the police to improve road safety? What can we do? The JP is offering their support. I know that from the JP end, we provide a lot of support to the police in terms and the transport authority as well when they go out there on the roads in terms of all of that. But go ahead and share with us, SSP, how we can work better to improve.
I always encourage motorists and the citizens at large that whatever you see, feel free to report it. You can take videos, you can take pictures, you can send them to the headquarters, you can send them to our network. And once we have those in our possession, we will conduct our investigations and we'll bring people to book. If you have to prosecute or to warn, we will do so. But you don't have to get in contact with persons. Just observe carefully, make note of what you see, and report it. And every time you get a chance to encourage a person, listen to me, road safety is all of us business. From the man that is pushing at hand cart, to the pedal cyclist, to the motorcyclist, up to the person who drives a trailer. It's our business. The pedestrian, they have a responsibility as well. They have a responsibility to ensure that when it touch dark, they wear color clothing that is visible. They must ensure that when they are traversing on the roadway, they are not distracted by cell phones or any other implement. And if we can get those from a cooperation, we should see a better Jamaica as it relates to issues of carnage on our road and improve on road safety.
Well said, well said. All right, as we prepare to wrap, Sir Anderson, then Sir Grant, your final thoughts for this program.
We've mentioned motorcyclists, and I just like to encourage motorcyclists to wear helmets no matter how short a distance you're going to travel. The helmet is the most effective device in keeping you alive, most effective safety device in keeping you alive on the roads. I'd also like to say a general appeal to our road users just to think about others a little bit while you're on the roads. If you remember that others are also using the space, and if we don't only think about ourselves, then I have a feeling we'll be more careful in how we use the roads. We won't drive as fast as the car will allow because we will think about other people's safety and so on. So just a general appeal for us to think about others and not just ourselves and our own comfort and our own need to get from here to there in X period of time.
Thank you for that, Sir Grant.
I'd like to speak briefly on vehicles. Reason being, most of Jamaica's vehicle fleet, as they're modern, Jamaica has relatively modern vehicles on the road. And these modern vehicles, manufacturers make them around comfort. So back in the day when a person would possibly doing 50 kilometers per hour in a vehicle, and you can feel the speed in the vehicle, you can hear the wind, you can feel the vibrations in your seat. Modern vehicles now have so much sound deadening built in the vehicle, which is basically for passenger comfort, that persons end up speeding without realizing the speed that they're traveling. And you have to constantly look at your speedometer. So a person will be traveling, and when they look at the speedometer, they're like, wow, I'm doing 100. The car don't even feel like it doing that. So persons out there, when you're operating on the road, always, just take an eye and peek down on your speedometer. And sometimes you'd be surprised to know that speed that you're traveling in the zone that you shouldn't be doing it. So just be aware of the speed that you're operating your vehicle at. Mhm.
All right. SSP, any final thing you want to leave with the viewers?
Yes, I just want to touch on one of the issues that is continuing to come at us, and the lighting. We tend to have some selfish drivers on the roadway, and one of the general rules of the road is that in built-up areas you are to dim your lights. When you meet an oncoming vehicle, you should dim your lights. I don't know if for spite or it's lack of education, a number of our drivers, they fail to dim their lights. And we have to remember that we have persons who their sight is not as how they were born. I mean, your sight tend to depreciate as you get older. And we have to think about other persons using the roadway and to be courteous. So I would appeal to motorists to dim those lights and refuse from changing the bulbs that the vehicles is manufactured with, because there are some bulbs on the market. They are installing those bulbs. They are very white when they illuminate, and they are very dazzling. There are others with the bars across the vehicle, the front of the vehicle, some real bright lights, and it's like they are very destructive. I mean, I suspect that a number of those lights cause persons to swerve to their left or keep to their right. You don't even realizing that they are doing so. And it's very dangerous. And I will appeal to motorists to desist from doing those things. We have been doing some work around it with the Island Traffic Authority, but Jamaica is wide, and at times, you will just not see everything. But let us, work on our conscience and remember that we are not the only person on the road.
That's right. And so each of us have to play our part. And I mentioned earlier, SSP, that you'd love for us to report what we see happening so that enforcement can take place. Barbara Sharp is saying, very informative session. Thanks to the organizers and participants. Many blessings. Thank you for thanking us, Lady Sharp. And it's my time to officially thank SSP Watson from PSTEB, Sir Sheldon Grant, Island Traffic Authority, and Sir Victor Anderson, NRSC, our National Road Safety Council, for sharing some rich insights, the different perspective of what's happening out there on the road, how we can maintain our vehicles to make sure that it not just pass the inspection, but it's roadworthy so that we're protecting ourselves and the lives around us. SSP for sharing richly on how we can use the roads better and help to reduce the figures even more. So if you missed the first part or you're just joining, not to worry. These recordings remain in this space. There's a playlist with all the discussions that we have here on second Thursdays. You have over, let me see, 2022, 3, 4, over 3 years of conversations with JCF. That's there in the Community Safety and Security playlist. So if you follow the link, go to Serenity Resource Connector, there are playlists for each segment that we have here that you can get a wealth of information. If you want to catch the highlights, you can hop on over to the Serenity Resource Connector website and you'll see the blog recap of each of them. And if you want to go to the longer format, the link is there for you to watch the full recording. So you can look out for that. And speaking of organizers, let me thank I call her my partner now, Serenity Resource Connector, ASP, Melissa Morrison at the Community Safety and Security Branch Area 3 for pulling together, recommending this rich set of resources here, the NRSC, ITA, and the PSTEB to participate in this conversation so we can see how the entities work together and how we can support the work that you're doing as we continue to keep our roads safe. And let me thank you, our viewers, for staying with us. And for those who will be watching the replay, let us continue to work together to make our spaces safer. Go ahead and share this forum with your family, community groups, and schools, especially our schools. The young ones, we need to teach them the right thing from early so that they can develop the attitude and the right mentality as it relates to using our roads. It starts with them walking on the roads properly, so when they start driving, they can be more responsible citizens out there. So go ahead, subscribe to the Serenity Resource Connector and follow us on all platforms to stay updated on safety. We have early childhood, culture, youth empowerment, local governance, and community development. You can see when we have these sessions, how you can be a part of it. And speaking of being a part of, for those in Clarendon, our youth group is having a health and wellness fair on Saturday from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. So you can send out the young ones and the young at heart so they can get their free health checks. So we stay safe health-wise so that we are safer behind the wheels. Thank you again. Have yourselves a fantastic rest of the night. Gentlemen, it was a pleasure sharing virtual space with you. Look forward to doing this again because we can't do enough of public education. Thank you, Ms. Speck. Thank you for tuning in and thank you for joining. I saw you in the youth forum on Tuesday. Thank you so much for supporting our youth, and we invite you all to continue to play your part as we seek to advance. The SRC Community Safety and Security Monthly Live Forum is brought to you on second Thursdays at 8 p.m. Brought to you in partnership with the JCF Area 3 Police. Visit our website at www.serenityresourceconnector.com and subscribe to receive our weekly blog post. Join us again on Tuesday at 8 p.m. for a child rights series with the Early Childhood Commission. Thank you for watching.